Today's episode is brought to you by BitCasino, Kava Labs, and shopping.io. You'll hear more about them later on in this episode. Hey, what's up, everyone? I am Charlie Shrem, and you are listening and watching Untold Stories. And I'm very honored to have my good friend Graham Friedman back on the show today. Graham, thank you so much for coming on Untold Stories.
Absolutely my pleasure. This will be my first repeat visit on any podcast. There couldn't be a better one to join than this one. So thanks for reaching out to me.
I started doing repeat guests again. It's like a very new thing I'm doing. You're like my second or third only. We celebrated the 2-year anniversary of the show just the other day, 180 episodes, and there's still so many more guests they want to have. But what ends up happening is because the show is going on for so long that we talk to people, I want to have them back to see like, how did that go? Or like, what did you come of that? Or, like what's the last year been like? And then at the same time, there are like topics that I want to talk about that we don't end up talking about. On our last episode, you're the director of public token offerings, and you're also you're a GP in Republic's fund. Republic is one of the largest like advisory companies, not only in our space, but they've been around forever, but doing technical development and consulting from all like financial service related companies. But you came from the media space. You worked with Gary Vaynerchuk. You have a media company you were on set, a director of photography at Good Crack and TLDR. I love your shirt, by the way. And it's actually perfect timing. Yeah, that literally is crypto. This morning, I just read an article that Coinbase is launching their own media arm. And this is a huge deal because traditionally you don't see companies launching, the largest company in our industry, publicly traded, launching a media arm that they say is actually going to report to the marketing department. And their mission is twofold. It says right here, sources say the media operation would act as a top of the funnel marketing vehicle to draw more people into its crypto exchange, which is normal, but it's also to help the company drive its own narratives. How do you feel about that?
I think it makes a lot of sense. One of the bigger questions that I think has been on my mind lately is sort of the effect of the meme. Obviously, we've been looking at this, and crypto is extremely meme heavy. You look at a lot of the successful projects, what they've done on the community side, it's been memification, right? They're hiring, chief meme officers, things like this. And we're in this interesting little epic where Dogecoin, due to its success, has given the rise of what we're calling now meme coins. And we started this being like, well, Doge is foundationally like questionable, but now it has this amazing community. So, as a founder, I'm like, would I prefer to have strong technology and no community for a very long time? Or what, the inverse is to have this amazingly dominant community and then maybe try to figure out the technology. Ultimately, you need both to flourish. But, I find it to be truly amazing. So we've been interacting with a lot of these meme coins. They're really solid teams, maybe coming from the marketing side rather than the tech development side. And their Telegram communities are off the charts. I mean, the activity of their participants, wallet holders that are through the roof. And in terms of blockchain technology, there's not really all that much there. So it's a wild thing to pursue. And, it makes a lot of sense to me that Coinbase would want to start, pumping that narrative and having more control over it. And of course, bringing people into their funnel. So I'm not shocked.
If we were like a medical technology podcast and we're sitting here talking about like med tech, well, first of all, I would have like 5 listeners. But if we were sitting here talking about med tech and I said, hey, the largest, hospital chain is launching their own media arm to control narratives, we'd be looking at it in a very different way. But I think because Coinbase and because there's this like, I'm not gonna say political or asset class, but there's this like there's this social class that everyone belongs to when you're in this space. That is, you're like a Bitcoiner, or a crypto, or I like Bitcoiner better. And that doesn't mean you have to like love Bitcoin. You could love all cryptos, but let's just say you're a Bitcoiner. I think makes us all feel more comfortable because that means that while Coinbase may be pushing their own narrative, they're pushing that larger narrative of our space as well.
I completely agree. And, look, there's always been an issue of where do you find good information, especially for the noobs that are coming in, right? I'm sure you have this. Everybody in crypto has this, where you try to onboard your friends. For years, I've been saying join in, and then very quickly we become de facto customer support, right? So whether I have friends that are having issues with Coinbase, Voyager Digital, Gemini, I always get text messages like, "Hey, can you help me on the support side?" It's like, no, I'm really not inside that organization. I promise. And then, as they enter the space, there's just tons of noise. A lot of the coins that are pumping are maybe doing it for reasons that, you and I might not think are built off substance. But a lot of that gets caught up, right? And when I introduce new people, they're chasing the price of an asset, which I think, once you're an investor for a long enough period of time, chasing a price is a terrible move. And it usually leads to some sort of bust after the boom. So, as somebody looking to protect the space, to onboard new users, the constant questions are, where can I go for good information? And when you look at what's on television, I would say the talking heads are often incorrect. There's a few really great people that do go on there. I love, there's a, Meltem Demirors is one of the few people, Nick Carter, that are actually, they're coming with like hard numbers and facts. But then there's just so many other people. And especially when you bring in the boomer class, there is a literal disconnect, I find. I know plenty of the older generation that participate in the space, and they've got it. But just en masse, I would say there is a chasm. So for someone with a reputation like Coinbase, who's also, like the leading app in the App Store and is pulling in retail in these record numbers, I think having a concise just repository of information makes total sense. On the business side, obviously, they're going to be leading into things that are a little more relevant to them. But, as you mentioned, they are in a class of their own. So I think we'll see more of it. And then just in general, even if we were medtech, sorry, just to come back to what you said in the beginning, I think marketing and advertising in general is moving more towards influencers. We have the likes of you, we've got Scott Melker, Wolf of All Streets, right? These are now becoming you are now becoming the face of the industry. And when people are looking to educate, they come to this podcast, right?
It's interesting how that ended up like it's kind of crazy how like I keep, not on purpose, but being ahead of those waves. I didn't start this podcast to like earn money, or even I started as a therapy because I was like on the brink of like needed to all of like my emotions were exploding at the same time, and like frustration. But like I'm joking. My wife has been making fun of me because I've been saying this quote a lot lately. I've been like, out of diamonds are created from pressure, out of frustration. So like, would you say that a lot of the media output that we're going to see in the next 6 months, maybe it's coming from a frustration in like the Elon Musks, taking over our narratives, and the stupid like energy, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and like all of this crap. We've been so passive in the last decade, in the past 10 years. We're just like, everyone will love Bitcoin and crypto on its own, and whatever fake narratives are out there and crap is out there, it'll pass 24-hour news cycle. But it's getting frustrating now because you have these like people who come in and they're like messing up the financial futures of people that we know over stupidity, and then they leave. And I hate to like call Elon Musk out about it, but that's really kind of what's happening. And I just want to say one more thing. You don't have to buy a coin in order for that to be your first way into crypto and to actually start earning money in crypto. There are ways to use your dollars to earn yield of other tokens, but we'll talk about that after.
Yeah. In a nutshell, I have to say Bitcoin has, and I think we're using it similarly, right? We're talking about the cryptocurrency space. There's obviously some differences as we really dive in. But, it's proven to be anti-fragile. We've been attacked, and we are now approaching a level where, we're seeing the Nigerian Naira getting pushed out due to hyperinflation, and the local people are adopting crypto. It's pretty mind-blowing, right? Like they'll take a high-risk DeFi savings account because they have no alternative, and yet they're leapfrogging us for 30%. So we're getting to the point where our punches are starting to pack weight. And I think that's, part of, like you said, the energy FUD is such a concise message that I feel as though it's being delivered by a certain group of maybe current banks in power or something to that effect. And hypothesis.
the energy FUD, um, and it's crazy because I had Nick Carter, and it's such a perfect episode. And like we released it right before all that FUD came out. But to sum it all up, all of Bitcoin, all of crypto for that matter, all of mineable crypto, all of mineable cryptos could be powered just by the excess flaring that's happening in the world. So you have all of the natural gas that they don't use because natural gas needs to be used very quickly, and the cost of moving it from where it's come out of the ground. So like, you ever see those, like, like, remember like when the videos of the Iraq war, back in the 90s and 2000s, like of all the oil fields burning and shit? That's not part of why it's supposed to be done. That means that there's that it's coming out of the ground, but there's not enough demand, so they just burn it off. All of that extra energy could be used to power all of Bitcoin 10 times over. Done.
Yeah,
all the FUD is cleared up.
It's also super easy to attack, right? It's a concise network that's very transparent. There's no supply chain transparency in anything else we do. So for example, like dyeing a single pair of blue jeans creates like 3 gallons of runoff waste that is just full of dyeing material. Yeah, I mean, nobody talks about it, right? Eating shrimp has a massive implication of slave labor from the people peeling it over in Southeast Asia. It's just like, how specific can we look at it?
Oh my God, I'm never going to get shrimp peeled ever again now.
Yeah,
I'm only ever getting
yeah, it's a hard world we live in, right? There's, we want things cheaper, we want them, more comfortably, and that comes at a cost. But Bitcoin just, sitting in its tech stack, in its vertical of having the miners that do report hash rate, it's just a very easy sort of corner to push it into. And that's why I don't like the attack. And also the narrative is that, the mining is aggressive. It leads to pursuing the cheapest format of energy. And as long as we're subsidizing that on a government level to be fossil fuels, then this is all very silly, right? It's like, hey, why don't we actually stop trying to keep these things afloat and let the free market capitalism move us towards green energy? I think you and I are very much aligned and in agreement on this topic.
Is crypto still silly? Like,
I would say 100%. But it's evolving, right? Once you enter the space, not only do you really learn more about how money works, right, and has worked, and I would say the fact that it's worked the same way for the past 3 generations. I do feel like I'm in the millennial camp, and we came on board to sort of bring value onto the internet, and that was kind of what brought me into the crypto space. I thought IoT, robo money, all this fun stuff. Now I'm seeing some Gen Z projects that have grown up for the past 12 years knowing Bitcoin, already having this disassociation with, I guess, the concept of how money used to work, or old money.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah, and they're coming up with crazy things, man. So is crypto crazy? Of course. We got Dogecoin, we got Shiba, we got Kishu Inu, all of these funky things, but that's also what makes it very fun. And it constantly morphs and we get new ideas. And I think as we move further away from what is traditionally understood as the methodology, it's only going to get funkier and funkier. I've often joked that I think memes will be the money of the future because, if we take the internet of value, it's just going to be about groups that agree on a single asset as having worth. And then, of course, I said that jokingly, and we have the rise of the Doge coins, or the dog coins, I should say. And
belief
again,
is a very scary thing now that I'm thinking about it. Like, all belief, as long as it lasts a decade, anything, if enough people believe something over the course of like 10 years, it becomes real, and it now exists. Like, I remember jokingly asking my rabbi if God exists when I was younger, and he's like, well, we're talking about him now, aren't we? So like, that was his joke, saying like, God does, like, but that was, I think that's when I left religion. When I heard that, I was like, come on. And then when I had the next question,
had similar conversations.
My next question was like, well, I don't understand like why this rule exists. And I think the response was, well, if you can understand the why, then you could be God. Therefore, we can't understand the why. We have to have blind faithfulness. Beautiful.
You're getting very deep. I would say that's a topic for maybe like 20 or 30 podcasts.
Yeah. But actually, I learned that life isn't about blind faith. I learned that life is about trusting or being faithful in in someone and trusting that, like basically going, and it's not just with marriage, it's with everything, because business relationships or even us talking now, you're trusting me to make you look good, I'm trusting you to make me look good, where there's constant trust relationships with people. I mean, that's what crypto's all about. At the same way, at the same time, it's all about trust. um but if you look at religion, like going back, it's such a crazy analogy. It's just thousands of years of belief. And if you look at kind of currency or what Bitcoin is, we're kind of asking people to do the same thing. That's what Bitcoin is. Over the last 12 years, that's what crypto is. It's just belief in this thing as a currency. And that's better than someone telling us what a currency should be. Or is it? I don't know.
No, I think it is. And, one of the big components of crypto is that we can iterate, right? This is when when gold bugs negate Bitcoin as, not being as useful as gold. It's like, guys, this is a computer network. It can update itself. We're seeing it with Ethereum, right? Substantial updates are happening right now. And again, I don't really think it's faith-based. I do vibe with what you're saying about trusting the other humans, but it's the don't trust, verify kind of attitude that we have. And the one reason I think Bitcoin, I think Ethereum's amazing. I think all of the technology is really cool, but none of them have the narrative, right, of this Satoshi Nakamoto obscure figure who is going to be the richest person in the world and hasn't claimed any of the upside to that. That is like fundamentally unhuman. It just goes against, a lot of just what we do. I speak to founders all the time that are so concerned about the SEC, and I go, why don't you detach your name and your ego from the project and maybe not receive tokens as a developer? I believe your technology is going to work. That could be a path. And they all say, hell no, I want the credit.
Hey guys, the Coin Gaming IO folks are back at it with another amazing promo. This time they're giving away 3 Teslas from April 19th to June 27th. It's so cool. bitcasino.io/Charlie. There's so many incentives and promos and things that they've been giving away over the past few months to my listeners. But now if you go to bitcasino.io/Charlie and you play their game Live Crash, and you can get in the top 10 in all 10 tournaments, you will be entered in to win one of 3 Teslas. So all you got to do is go in there, play some slots, play some games, get into the top 10 in any of the games, and you'll be entered to win one of 3 Teslas. I mean, how cool is that? They've been giving away stuff at St. Patty's Day, at Valentine's Day. They're constantly, we're always doing so many amazing promos. bitcasino.io/Charlie. You will not be disappointed. The most important part of our Bitcoin and crypto industry is being able to not only earn money in crypto, but also be able to spend it, earn rewards in crypto, and keep that revolution going, keep the cycle going of all of us together. Well, my partners at shopping.io are offering just that. Multi-tiered discounts up to 10% where you can spend your crypto anywhere that you're already buying everything already, Amazon, Walmart, eBay, but use your crypto to spend it, earn back cash back, earn back rewards. And not only that, but if you go to untoldstories.link/shopping.io, you get an additional, on top of every other discount, an additional 2%. So you can go there now and shop and get 12% off of everything you're already buying anyways, and use your crypto. You can ship to almost any country in the world. Fantastic, fantastic company. Make sure you check them out at untoldstories.link/shopping.io. Our partners over at Kava Labs and Binance just launched something really cool, an awesome new integration where you can earn 10% APY on your hard stable coins using the Binance DeFi platform. This is actually pretty cool because Kava Labs has been doing DeFi, but actually in a decentralized way, offering governance for their token holders, and not only with their stable coins, but their lending products, all their different, the ability to stake and vote and earn different yields and liquidity mining. So not only is Kava Labs doing that, but partnering with Binance gives it that awesome, like full trailblazing go ahead to offer these really, really good yields with an amazing partner, Binance and Kava Labs together. Check them out at untoldstories.link/Kava. That's untoldstories.link/Kava. There's always some specials and crazy stuff going on. Enjoy.
No one ever had to convince you to join this thing. Like even Satoshi himself said, if you don't have time to understand it or not have time to explain it to you, those
Yeah.
not those words verbatim, but um, you mentioned Ethereum though, and Ethereum has been I've been wrong about this. Ethereum's been on a wild tear, even though so many other blockchains are launching, chomping at Ethereum's bit. Why do you think that is?
It's the developer community. They're just amazing. When you go, I
On
don't know if you've gone to
Ethereum.
DevCon. Yeah, it's alive. It's full of unicorns and rainbows and obviously decentralized finance. And it's cracking me up that I do think DeFi is legitimately competing with traditional finance, but it's being wrapped in memes. And the future currencies of the world are, littered with 420 references, 69 references. It's just like, this is amazing. But, I
Yeah.
fully expect that when I get my next mortgage, I'll do it through MetaMask, pressing a couple buttons.
Oh my God. Can we just go away with credit scores? That'd be so nice.
Yeah. I mean,
Like I
another
have no
part of it.
access to a mortgage. I have no way to like be able to do that. And most people got involved in this industry too because they're like disenfranchised with the traditional financial system. So they said, "Hell to the hell with it. Let's rebuild it." I was
Yeah.
I was yeah.
And it's really starting to click now.
So will if
Sorry,
if
go ahead.
if the major well, I was trying to get this earlier. If the major developer community is still working on Ethereum and uh it's growing and continuing to attract all that investment, are we looking at like a multi blockchain world? I'm trying to understand what like our industry looks like in 5 years from now.
Yeah. So I think one of the most exciting things for me, at least in 2021, is the rise of cross chain. You've obviously got Polkadot, you got Cosmos, huge Thorchain Chad over here where the liquidity all flows into itself. And, the way I see it is that each blockchain will have some sort of advantage. Like Solana is on high frequency throughput. Ethereum's decentralized. They've, got a ton of reasons to, promote their messaging. You've got Near, you've got Avalanche, you've got Algorand that handles like digital securities very well. So they'll all have a tiny little head start or something that they do just slightly better. And I do see that we are starting to get those bridges where, I can build an application on Avalanche, let's say, to take advantage of their strengths, but the asset itself can move through these new dexes, these cross-train bridges, all sorts of things. And, maybe the underlying could actually live somewhere aside from the derivative asset that's being used in the decentralized application. I'm extremely bullish on cross-chain. I think, competition is good.
You mentioned cross chain, and we're talking about Avalanche, and I was just thinking about Aave, and that actually brought me back to um, how I like to bring people into crypto. So we talk about like downloading the Voyager app and stuff like that. But one of the things I tell people is forget about buying coins. You're talking about someone would say to me, I have $5,000, I have $10,000. What do I do with it? One of the things I kind of explain to people is like, hey, of course, there are already people who are owning Bitcoin. These are people who want to own some other things and trade them. I see first, go out there and chase some yield. And what I mean by that is go buy some USDC, go on Vesper Finance or Yield app or whatever it is, go and lock up your USDC, earn some yield, get airdrop some of their tokens, trade that tokens on Uniswap, go get a Uniswap NFT, start earning and building and growing and learning at the same time. Then you'll make your own decisions of what to buy. How do you do it? Do you do the same thing? Because you probably get people all the time coming to you.
Yeah, honestly, I've onboarded more people through grabbing like 8% yield on USDC than anything, period. It's safe-ish. There's no FDIC guarantee, but I mean, at some point you're like, there's no yield in my bank account. So, people have been very willing to trade that off. And I found that to be absolutely the perfect onboard. And then also once you start realizing that this is the capability, right? It gets you into the never sell mentality, which is that you accrue assets you believe in. You can maybe LP them, you could lock them up, you can put them in DAOs. There's so many ways for your money to work for you. that it really diminishes the speculative nature of them trying to enter and exit, which when I'm onboarding new people, they're not realizing all of the short-term capital gains that they're exposing themselves to. And that's brutal. Whereas, buying some USDC, parking it in a yield-bearing account and earning 8%, that's a pretty sweet deal in this current environment. And then, of course, if you want to go full-blown degen, you can find these yields that are just completely insane.
Yeah, crazy.
And like you said, printing money.
Well, I had a friend who was like asking me about like the questions he was asking was very basic entry level stuff. And then like literally a week later, he's like, yeah, Charlie, I'm market making for like 10 different tokens right now. I'm like, I built liquidity pools and I'm like, oh, like all of a sudden you're like running 10 liquidity pools on Uniswap and PancakeSwap, Binance Smart Chain, doing all these things like, oh, you're a market maker now, you're a prop shop. Last week you couldn't even download an app.
And it's funny because there is a bit of a leapfrog, right? Like I had so many assets tied up in the Ethereum ecosystem doing, all sorts of fun plays, and the gas price spiked like crazy. Suddenly I was unable to move these assets, and I was very slow to get onto like the BSC train, right? I was just like, oh, the bridge is exhausting. It's going to cost me so much money to get any assets over there. Whereas my friends that just started, they're like shitcoins trading up a storm and doing all sorts of interesting advanced plays. And then, again, it's, they start to wake up to the fact that there is this new monetization technology, and it's all on the internet. And it's super easy, and it's the onboarding process is much lighter than the stock market, which I would say is also becoming increasingly easier with like Robinhood, Cash App, and everything.
And you'll be able to trade like tokenized stock and tokenized versions of a lot of things. You're going to see tokenized versions of tokenized shares of Class A buildings being be able to be traded online and shit like that soon.
Yeah, we actually at Republic have quite a few pieces of real estate that are looking to tokenize. I think the digital securities realm is happening. It's just slow. But what I will be very interested to see completely decentralized synthetic equities, because that will obviously ruffle the feathers of the powers that be. But if they can't do anything about it, what is the story that's going to happen there? And I do think you're going to be looking at some very aggressive, warfare, for lack of a better term.
Well, there's no rush either. Like, don't rush because maybe bull markets will last forever. Not that to say like you'll always see crazy price appreciation, but if you're telling me that things are taking time to build, institutions are taking time to get in. And when people do get in, they're not just like buying and selling, they're actively participating. Are we at the dawn of the end of like that first crazy? It's like, so if you look at like the first 10 years of Bitcoin, it's like drop a bouncy ball on the floor. It's going to bounce a lot.
Yeah.
But like over time, it stops and slows itself down. Are we the dawn of that? Will that happen? Will we just see a slow appreciation over time now? Or are we still in, and it's not a question that anyone's qualified to answer, but it's more of like your thoughts.
Yeah, I hope we continue to have all of it, right? So I'm starting to think that we are, I think the question we all have to ask ourselves is this time different? Which is the one thing you're never supposed to say, because you're like, God damn it, I've been through so many of these booms and busts. But, I do think that there is a detachment now from the macro, which would be Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dogecoin. Let's toss you in there. But, now we have like the DeFi summer winter cycle. There's an NFT cycle that also is seemingly happening on its own. The DeFi stuff was a little bit more volatile. And as they've increased their TVL counts, I think they're starting to level as well. But, one of the most interesting things is that when we do get back to a bull market, there's this whole new generation of people that just pop up and they treat it differently. They either have more of that, first timer energy that maybe you and I are, we're a little bit burnt out because we've been through this ride so many times. But forever and ever, I mean, as long as we have a tech stack where a 12-year-old at the science fair can build, what could be the future of finance, we're going to continue to have some like crazy stuff at the top. But I do believe you're correct. As they mature, as they reach, more money in their systems or just time of development, we're also talking about, bug fixes that are very important as these projects go on and get farther. And then that also just de-risks them. And that's exactly what you're talking about, right? The longer they're unhacked,
Everything is
the more
de-risked.
money. Yeah, it's a de-risking process. So they should become less bouncy.
What other industries need de-risking? The insurance industry does, and it's moving into crypto in a big way. In fact, a friend of mine is flying in today here, and he's big in the insurance industry.
Yep, no, 100%. And the insurance one's very interesting too, because the big data industry and insurance obviously overlap very well, and crypto and big data also
Oh yeah.
overlap very well. And I actually work with a really cool project called DClimate. They're building a pool of climate data that you can then build applications on top of.
Oh, very cool.
And yeah, learning from them, how monopolized current climate data is, and just it's really run by AccuWeather and NOAA, and because they've had this monopoly, they're also very lazy. So there's like a short timeline on how long that data actually sticks around for. There's really not much of it. They can alter it whenever they feel like it. And in the modern lens, it's just like, wait, this is crazy. You don't have like historical trail on climate. This is something that's like really important. So they issue hyper-specific insurance products. You could either be a farmer taking out weather insurance, climate insurance, or you could, you and I could say, hey, we're renting an Airbnb at Miami.
What's the name of this project?
DClimate. So they've really educated me. They're coming from the insurance background, from Citadel, trading, climate products. And it's just been mind-blowing, again, to see this thing that you think is this monolithic industry. And because it's been on its throne for so long, it's gotten lazy. It's gotten accustomed to being in control. And it's ripe for disruption. And of course, the crypto underlying is that they can create a really amazing DAO that is revolving around data. And one of the coolest things I think about crypto and about DAOs is that we're moving away from the 9 to 5, right? So if you're in Mumbai and DClimate needs a little bit more weather information over there, they can put up grants and somebody local can go set up a weather station and start contributing input. And, they earn revenue that way. And this is, again, wherever there's internet. So I don't know if anyone saw.
I want to do decentralized health insurance.
Yeah, I don't see why that should be a problem, right?
It would have to be a DAO type of thing, I guess. I don't know how the claims would work.
Well, I would guess that maybe the DAO functions as the monetary generator, and then you're still purchasing contracts through a more straightforward provider. But that would be pretty next level. I think, if you're in America, health insurance is a very big problem, and it's very confusing even when you have it.
Yeah, I think I just lost it. Like, I don't know. I never know. I'll go to the, it's very confusing, health insurance. Honestly, it's one of the most confusing aspects of America right now. Really, no one really knows what's the deal with health insurance.
Yeah, and it's a bullshit market, right? Like it has no free market elements to it. If you exit your house and there's a doctor's office 2 blocks away and one block away, and the guy 1 block away charges twice as much as 2 blocks away, in a free market, you would absolutely walk the extra block. But with insurance, you're like, I don't care. It's covered. So, the whole market is just bullshit. And it's broken. And, I'd be very intrigued. I don't think I'm smart enough to take point on this one. But that would certainly, you're talking about unbanking or banking the unbanked. Insuring the uninsured would be the American version, I think.
So is a way to look at what Coinbase is doing, and really like what I do here at Untold Stories, because I do media. This is one of my media. I'm producing a film that's nothing to do with crypto, but maybe I'll do a crypto TV series or film, and you'll be my DP. But is what they're doing and what I'm doing almost like when I watch, and how people make fun of me, I watch like Christian movies. Well, half the time I don't know I'm watching a Christian movie until like halfway in, and I'm like, I really like it already, so I'll just keep watching. But like, is it kind of like that, where it's like, you're being preached a narrative, but you're okay with it?
It's tough. Like, unlike religion or something, we're not really pursuing new souls. It's just this wild new format of something that's so fundamental to humanity, which is the exchange of value. And to me, we all are very comfortably set in the age of information, which was the internet. And it's funny, if you look at, newspaper clippings from 1990, they talk about the internet using too much power and is it worth it?
Oh, right? Really?
There's the US postal system. Why would you send an email? So for anyone that's, our age, that's grown up on it, it's like, why is anything not digital? Like, I mean, I went to a bank the other day. God, I think we all do this, but like, it was like pulling teeth and, stepping way back in time and just not understanding why I even had to be there. And of course they couldn't execute on the request that I spent like 30 minutes on. So we're not really proselytizing. I think we have a really awesome toy and it makes a lot of sense and it provides legitimate value. That's like the key driver. And it also provides much lols value, right? There's plenty of silliness to go around in the space. But other than that, I mean, I think the biggest thing is that anyone can join, right? I've never been into a sector where you can come without a PhD, without, 10 years of training. You could just be a 12-year-old looking to pump out a science fair project and you're interested in this and actually make something that gets running, scales beyond all belief. I mean, these things scale wildly, right? And just in that regards, it's an amazing sandbox. And that's why we're trying to bring people into it, because we want to build more stuff. Obviously, the more applications and tech stacks that go up, the more secure and reliable this whole industry becomes. We'll probably lose some of our fatty yields across the board, but there's a first mover advantage for everything.
There'll always be more yields to chase.
There will be yields.
I love that, like the chase of the yields. And I have yield.App is one of our sponsors, and I had him on the show. We just like the chase of the yield. That's a great app. And then I was actually supposed to have Jeff Garzik on the show today, but he's not feeling well. And he was going to talk about Vesper Finance, so I won't give him that opportunity. Don't use his company. I'm just joking. I love Jeff. He's another person who we've had on the show before, who's just a brilliant mind. I remember sitting with him at a bar in Buenos Aires like 10 years ago, and I said, "Nice to meet you. I'm Charlie Shrem." He says, "I'm Jeff Garzik," and this was like early Bitcoin days, and he was like, and I was like, "Why do you love Bitcoin?" He goes, "I'm going to put a rocket on them in space." I was like, "Great. I'll have another beer, please."
Yeah.
And he did. He put a rocket in space, Jeff. He did CubeSats.
Yep.
And he's a Bitcoin Core, early Bitcoin Core developer. Yeah. But this is why you get the best people. You get the coolest people. Graham, I thank you. And I know you had to cancel a bunch of stuff for coming on the show. Thank you for last minute coming on Untold Stories. This was phenomenal.
My pleasure.
Awesome. I need to do this more often. Thank you so much again. And how can my listeners follow? What's your Twitter account so they can continue hearing what you have to say?
Yeah, I'm G centralized. It's G_centralized.
That's a wrap. That's a wrap. I did the anthem. I was like,
there you go. Tail slate. Yeah.